We are here today with Craig A. Price Jr., whose Dragonia books look to be very interesting and also quite extensive. The list on the website is long and very interesting. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're working on at the moment, and then we'll get into your many books.
All right, sounds good. I'm Craig A. Price, I'm junior. I have a father that's a senior, if that wasn't evident. I got lots of projects going on. I've been published since November of 2015. It was when my first book came out. I've been writing all of my life. I knew I wanted to be an author since the first grade. My teacher back then would get that construction paper, and the inside would be the paper with the 3 big lines for practicing handwriting, and then the top half was just blank. And she'd fold it all up in construction paper, stapled it, handed it to us, and said, make a book. And I was first grade, and I remember doing that one time, and then sneaking in and finding that paper myself, and sharing paper, and making a lot more books. And I kind of wish I had all those books from that time, but I don't know where all those little things went. But I knew since then I wanted to be an author. In the beginning, I tried going the agent publisher route, and after hundreds of rejections and stuff, I ended up striking a bit of gold on a website called Wattpad. Back in from 2010 to 2012, mostly I think 2012 started hitting pretty big. I became pretty prolific on there, where I was one of the first 3 authors they selected for their featured program, where they would feature the book at the very top of the list. So if you went into fantasy during those couple of years, my book was always on the very top every time you went to browse. And so that ended up happening because one of the admins and operators of the site ended up finding my books after I found them first and was reading their books and reviewing it, and they came and just glanced at mine, and that's when they reached out to me and said they liked what I had and they wanted to feature it. So I kept on getting my books out, trying to seek publishing, and I ended up, after it was featured, I had over 2.5 million reads on it, like 18,000 votes, and over 1,000 comments. So it was very encouraging, having readers every chapter comment on my books and say, what they liked and didn't like. And, if they found typos and stuff, I was able to fix it right there on the fly. And, but, after that encouragement, another huge hit of rejections from, agents and publishers, I just kind of fills it out for a bit. And then I didn't really get published till late 2015. And by that point, that I had learned about self-publishing to do it, I had lost a lot of my Wattpad traction because a lot of those readers aren't there anymore. Their readership is very voracious but short-lived, because it's mostly teenagers before they grow up to be able to afford buying books themselves. And so once they kind of get past that high school and into adulthood, they kind of forget about Wattpad. So my fan base is useless these days. I have like 6,000-7,000 followers, and that doesn't help anything.
No.
But as far as my books go, I write everything from epic fantasy to I'm starting a new sci-fi series. You mentioned my Dragonia books. I have 3 books in that series so far. My first one is Dragonia: Rise of the Wyverns.
Ooh.
And Dragonia: Revenge of the Dragons.
I like that one. I like that cover. The colors are great.
And then Dragonia: The Dragonstone.
Ooh, cool.
And I actually have 5 planned in that series. I got to get back to writing those, but I got a little derailed with my new sci-fi.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are so many books to write,
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So we'll start with sci-fi because in progress is always fun, and then we'll go and do the Dragonia. So tell us a little bit about your sci-fi series, or is it a standalone?
It's going to be a series. I have 7 covers commissioned for it. They're all ready to go. It's just waiting on me to actually write things. So it's my first book. It's not published yet, so I have no idea when it's going to be published. It's on pre-order for like November, but I'm planning on pulling that left. So and do a rapid release on the first 3 books. I'm trying to get the first 3 books close to done before
Sure.
I'm working on book 2 now. Book 1 is called Ghost Probe.
Oh, cool.
And the premise on this book is very interesting. It's kind of a hot topic in our political society today. Basically, I wanted to bring up the idea of in a future where our science has progressed far enough to where there is an alternative to stuff like abortion. And so basically what they have in this society is the need for people to go and explore space. So there's no longer the constructs of, we're overpopulating Earth. No, we need, as many people as we can get because we got other planets to explore, to have, to live on and to go out and explore, like Star Trek Enterprise, just exploration everywhere. And so what they have developed is an artificial womb where they can take the embryo. So if the parents don't want the child, they just take the embryo and grow it into an artificial womb, and then that baby starts out at Space Academy. And since since they were not wanted, they're wanted for for space, and so they're actually called the unwanted, is what I call them in the series. So I have 2 main people in space exploring planets. You have the unwanted. You have clones, because they need enough people to try and explore space. You have people who are cloned from the best of the best, and then these unwanted who, the parents didn't even want them. And they're not genetically best of the best like the clones. And so they're kind of very discriminated against, and usually just shipyard workers, helping build the ships for space. But they do have the opportunity, if they work hard enough, to work their way up the rank. And so the captain of the ship, the Ghost, is a unwanted who worked himself up all the way to being a captain. But since he's not cloned from the best of the best captains, he's given menial missions like here you go and explore these asteroids because we need these minerals, and he wants to do space planet exploration. And then he kind of gets an opportunity because he happens to be the closest pilot in that area to go do exploration missions. So he does everything he can to try and prove himself. And so that's the basis of the series. So it's discovery like Star Trek. It's also a little bit of space opera because I have a mage, a space mage in the books that the main characters keep calling a Jedi, and he keeps on telling him he doesn't have a lightsaber. But since it's a heavier concept topic, I have a lot of humor built into the series. Sure. Kind of like a real light tone, fun adventure, kind of like the Orville. Well, there's still, you got your sciencey stuff, and it's still interesting, but I wanted to throw in enough humor to kind of get away from the heaviness of some of the topics.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. I think it's an interesting concept, and, the dichotomy in topic and style could be fun to play with. Ooh, yeah, that'll be good. All right. Now we have to go back to fantasy. Let's talk about your Dragonia books.
Yes, Dragonia. So it's a concept that I've played in my head with for a long time. And I've kind of bounced the idea around some readers and some different Facebook events and other local events I was in, just bouncing the idea with people. And the basic premise was, who would win, an army of dragon riders or an army of wyvern riders? And so you always see, all these books and all these movies, and they're always talking about dragons. And everyone leaves wyverns out of it. No one even talks about them, even though you look at TV and 9 out of 10 of times, they're showing a wyvern, not a dragon.
Yeah, it's true. The whole, limb thing, very annoying.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring to light the difference between the two. So I kind of compare it to an army of elephant riders against an army of horseback men. The elephants are going to be a lot stronger, more powerful, but they're not going to have the maneuverability of a horse. So I use the same concept in aerial combat with the dragons and the wyverns. And so they have more maneuverability, so not as strong and powerful as the dragons. I also decided to give them a little extra by giving them the ability to fly backwards, which the only bird that can fly backwards is the hummingbird. So I was like, what if that just extra little edge there could bring a little bit extra to the aerial combat. And then I threw a lot of science in there, because I love my science. As you see, I'm starting into sci-fi. So in my Dragonia books, the world is based in the Southern Hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't see very many fantasy books like that. And then I gave it 2 suns and 2 moons.
Oh, yes.
And the way I did it, because there's several different ways you can do planetary orbit with multiple suns.
Yeah.
But the way I did it, put the 2 suns close enough together to where that planet does a partial figure 8 as it goes around.
Yeah.
And so
the seasons that you get to play with.
Yes. So I have the one of them's a red sun and the one's a yellow sun. So when the planet's on the red sun side, that's their winter, because the red suns are a lot cooler than the yellow suns. And then they have a prolonged spring and fall, because there's a long time from when they go between the 2 suns to get that full loop.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I love playing with space stuff. It's fun. And I digress completely. I could go into that for a very long time. So I shall instead ask, why are they at war?
So the concept I played with on my Dragonian world is it's kind of like a Star Wars concept. We have a massive empire, and then you have a resistance. And so the empire has dragon riders, and they are ruling through tyranny. And there's people who are trying to fight back and or want to fight back, but you can't just fight dragon riders. And so they kind of build a resistance, but they can't really do anything yet because they can't face dragon riders. They're still trying to develop and think of things and get enough people and everything to oppose the empire. And then they end up a couple of them end up crash landing on a small island full of wyverns. And so that's when they start to realize the potential they have there. And I put a lot of some science into the different types of wyverns and dragons as well, by not just all fire dragons. So I actually put ice, lightning, wind, steel, acid, and I wanted to put a little bit of science into that as well. So I actually have like oil excreting out of their uvulas that mixes with their breath when they blow out. And so you have like extreme fire oil that hot enough breath from the dragon that it turns into fire. And the same thing with ice. That breaks their ice breath. Right. So as an additional thing for the resistance to try and fight back, is they actually start siphoning some of this oil to put in like glass vials to be able to try and use against the empire.
Oh, that makes so much sense. And also, you hope that the dragon doesn't accidentally like cause a spark or the wyvern, I guess in this instance, cause a spark with its teeth, because poof and ow and oops.
Yeah, one of my characters may have lost their eyebrows.
I mean, they grow back eventually. Yeah, I like it. That's fun. You can do so much with that.
Yeah, I'm building it little by little. Book 3 I actually brought in drakes, so I have the horseback non-winged dragons. Then as I keep on going, I'm actually thinking about bringing in some sea dragons and maybe some chimeras or worms or something like that. I just want to kind of bring in just different types of dragon creatures, but I want to introduce them little by little, not just throw them all in at the beginning.
Sure.
Another part of the series is I wrote this. It's an adult fantasy, but I wrote this with my son in mind. So my son is 12 years old, and I wanted him to be able to pick it up and read it, because my first series that I wrote is probably later teens. I mean, nothing too bad on screen, but implications of what happens off screen, and then the violence is a bit thicker. And so I actually wanted to write something that he'd be able to pick up and read at his level. So I keep it a lot more light. So I'm introducing stuff little by little throughout the series, but it's been a lot of fun.
Right. And you said there are 2 more books that you have planned for this series?
Yes, there's 2 more books planned for the series. That'll be 5. And I'm definitely planning on going back to the world one day. I have another idea for a second series later on. But I got other projects I got to catch up on first.
Yeah, other projects. I mean, things that need to be written. Yeah. It's a little bit problematic. The many ideas and not enough time.
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah. All right. So those are the sci-fi one is upcoming, and the Dragonia first 3 books are out. Now, it looks like from your website that you have a bunch of other things available.
Yes.
Okay.
So first off, I want to say, since this is a podcast and a lot of people listen to audio or watch the videos, is my first 2 Dragonia books are in audio, and my third one is about to come out in audio. It's been pending for like 2 or 3 months. Audible's been a bit slow lately. Then I have a couple of other books in audio as well. I have The Crimson Clamor is an audio. And my Heart of Akchani, which is a short book, it's an audio. And of course my Dragonias. Cool. And I have Starlin as an audio as well, I believe.
Gosh, it's been so long since I've seen audiobooks in like physical CD format.
Yeah, I made a couple of them myself and just printed out the covers to take to conventions. So I thought that was a neat idea. It sold a little bit, so it was fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
As far as my other series go, so I'll talk about my first one briefly here. My first book I ever wrote, what I became famous for on Wattpad, is The Crimson Clamor. So that's my first book. It's pretty fat and thick. The series is basically this man who used to be a warrior. His family ends up being killed by these savage creatures called drakes, which are like these reptilian humanoids. And so he sets out on a quest for vengeance against these creatures, just trying to go out and kill as many of them as he can before he's overwhelmed by them and just ends up dying because he just doesn't care. And then an egotistical wizard finds him and kind of tortures him a little bit with a lot of humor, and kind of annoys him to death, and convinces him to unite the humans together and the Keshlars, which are similar to an elf concept. Originally, they were elves until enough rejections from publishers were just bashing on elves for not being original. And since I ended up self-publishing, I probably should have just kept it as it was, because despite what they say, elves sell better. But so he goes out and if anyone's ever read Terry Goodkind, my wizard is very similar to Zed Zul Zorander, which I didn't know at the time when I wrote it, because I read his books a little later, and I'm like, that wizard sounds a lot like mine.
I love how that happens when you do something and then you find out that, oh.
Yeah. So that's this series, and I got the Crimson Clamor is book 1. Book 2 is the Obsidian Arrow.
Ooh.
And book 3 is the Violet Flamberge.
Oh, I like that one. I like that cover. Something about
the purple.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 books in the series. The first book's in audio. Since then, my narrator's kind of gone MIA, so I'll have to look for someone else possibly, which I hate, because I listen to audiobooks and I know what it's like when they change narrators.
Yeah.
But that world is pretty extensive. I've written a lot of backstories for it, like the Chronicles of Starlin is Bella. That's with the immortal race that you see a couple of his characters in the main series. This is a couple hundred years before. Where one of their mothers is dying, and they're supposed to be mortal, so they're trying to figure out what's going on.
Oops.
And then the Heart of Akchani, which is a little bit of a prequel to Crimson Clamor. It doesn't happen too long, a couple years before Crimson Clamor, where these there's 2 nearby villages that attack it, that are kind of in conflict with each other, and someone sends out an army to just destroy the other village. And they kill everyone except for women and children. And the women kind of half of them kind of depart and start making a society of themselves to try and fight back against the male-led governments and infiltrate and kind of destroy them as much as they can. It's a shorter story. It's not too long, but those same people are involved in my Crimson Clamor series, so it's just more backstory that I had to write to flesh out, and it was a lot of fun to flesh that out.
Yeah, Yeah, sounds like
You know,
exploring
Victoria's
some world. Yeah.
Victoria's Grave is a little prequel to the Crimson Clamor. This is about what happens. And my main character's name is Ciron. What happens in his life that led him to his path of vengeance.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yes. Oh,
So
boy.
that was my first series. And then I wrote, at some point in time, I wrote a paranormal romance called Undiscovered Origins, which...
Uh-huh. Sorry, the cover's moving a smidge. I can't.
Oh, yeah. It's not published anymore. I'm planning on revamping it, maybe getting a new cover, a little bit more on brand. I love the art here, but it doesn't hit the style that's needed for that.
Yeah.
And let's see. Then I got this was my first attempt at a co-author book. We Have Thieves.
Oh, interesting.
She has Kay and Leah since unpublished it and handed the rights back to me. She had too much stuff on her plate, and I did a lot of the writing on the book for this project. And this basic premise is Game of Thrones meets Ocean's 11. So a bunch of thieves go on a heist to steal a magical scepter.
Fun.
So I hope to get back into this series. I need to work on outlining books 2 and 3, and I got the rights back and try and work on that. But I'm so busy with so many things.
Oh yeah. Who needs free time? I mean, man.
Right. And then my other co-author books are Dragon Sword. This is with Angelique Anderson, and we made a trilogy together. That was book 1. Book 2 is Dragon Bow. And then book 3 was Dragon Scepter.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
And this was a lot of fun co-authoring. Angelique put a lot of the work in the first 2 books, especially. I was a lot more of a second drafter and the outliner. And then book 3, we really cut the whole thing in half, and each wrote half of it. But it was a very very fun project to work on. The publisher is Craig Martell, who is the president of the 20 Books for Decay author Facebook group. He had reached out to me asking if I want to take over this project that he had, since he knew I was writing a lot of fantasy stuff, and I put a lot of work into it. It was a lot of fun. And the premise of it is you got 3 sisters who have these dragon guides and these magical enchanted weapons, and there are 3 lands that there's the Sky Kingdom, the Water Kingdom, and the Land Kingdom, and they're kind of like almost at skirmish war with each other. Like no one can agree, and they can't figure what's going on. And so each sister goes to a certain kingdom to try and unite the kingdoms together again, or destroy the conflict. Possibly the kings who are running it, if that's the problem, to try and restore peace in the land. Basic premise of that series.
Wow.
And the dragon guides become the weapons as well. So like the dragon bow, the dragon is actually helping her guide the bow and stuff like that. So it's dragon weapons.
Huh. Wow. There's a lot that you can do with that. There's wow. The scope of that. Very exciting. Very exciting. Now, you don't have to actually explain any of the ideas, but how many other ideas for stories do you have sort of in progress? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I have a good bit. I keep a little journal on the side and just write a lot of my ideas. Just start with one sentence, just I want to explore this, and so I have another series that I have 3 covers for them that I'm hoping to write next year. And the basic premise for that is you got high elves, you got wood elves, and I wanted to introduce another one called stone elves. And the stone elves actually have the ability to transform their exterior skin into the stone or gem or mineral or whatever that they're holding. And so they can become complete crystallized or complete like stone or ruby or whatever. And that's the basic premise of that one, with a little bit of a conflict and tension between the different elves, and then got a couple humans involved in the journey as well. So that's another series I'm planning for next year. And then the next big series on my mind is, as I'm getting into sci-fi, I'm doing the sci-fi exploration right now. I'm wanting to get into the sci-fi bounty hunter stuff.
Oh.
I love stuff like Boba Fett and all that, the Mandalorian, and so I'm wanting someone with some really cool armor that would be original. As much as I want to just use Boba Fett's armor, I can't. No. But the basic premise of that is someone in that kind of armor that you don't really know who they are, because they're always dressed up. But I have the idea of, back in the Super Nintendo days, playing Metroid, Super Metroid.
Mm-hmm.
So it being a woman the entire time, but no one actually knows that she's a woman. She's just behind all the armor and just bounty hunting and kicking butt. So
fun. Ooh. You have so many different ideas. I mean, there's just a massive range of stuff going on. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I got a lot more than that, just randomly and written in different places, but these are the ones I'm focusing on right now.
Yeah, you have to narrow it down eventually. I mean, it's always hard, but there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah, sadly.
Oh, tragedy. Oh, well. Okay. For writers out there trying to get into any of your preferred genres, high fantasy, epic fantasy, space exploration, whatever you have, are there traps to avoid? Because there always are, and they're always, like, annoying.
I'd say too much world building can really slow you down. So my first book, Crimson Clamor, I spent like 10 years on it.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I spent a long time writing that book. I mean, when I first wrote it, I had written, I don't know, like 90% of it during NaNoWriMo month. Because I had just been in my head for so long and outlined and world building, I just decided to just try and get it out. And then it wasn't until like a year later when Wattpad's like, hey, we want to feature your book, but you're missing the last chapter, that I was like, oh, well, let me go ahead and write that real quick. But then even when I wrote it, it was, an epic fantasy book. It was 50,000 words.
Right.
It wasn't that big. And so then I ended up doing a lot of rewriting on it and brought it to about 80,000 words. And I just scrapped the entire thing and rewrote it from scratch using the old book as an outline, and ended up getting to like 130,000 words.
Wow.
Definitely the world building, and then just knowing the structure of what you're doing. There's a lot of great stuff out there for trying to learn structure, to try and avoid stuff like like writer's block and getting sucked into too much world building. There's also tools that can help you organize your world building to make it a little bit easier and not get so lost in it. One of the places I recommend is there's a podcast called Writing Excuses with Brandon Sanderson and them fellows. That's a really good place to start for learning some craft.
Sounds like a great title, Writing Excuses. Is this like excuses to write, or excuses we use as writers to, I believe the word is procrastinate? Yeah,
they answer that as both. But they have a slogan in that podcast. It's called 15 minutes long because you're in a hurry and we're not that smart. So it's pretty good. They keep pretty tight to topic most of the time.
That. That's fun. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to go look at that. I have not heard of that one before, but my knowledge of podcasts is actually fairly limited. I'm really terrible at researching them and finding them, so always good to know.
Their website is pretty neat. It's Brandon Sanderson, which is who took over Wheel of Time, and he has a lot of books himself. Then Dan Wells, then a guy named Howard Taylor, who writes a schlock mercenary comic strip. Okay. And then Mary Robinette Cowell is the other one who just started joining them in the past couple of years. But if you go on the website, they have like different like little bubbles for different topics. Like, if you're looking for world building or you're looking for this or that, you can just click on those and it'll pull up all their podcasts on that particular subject.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very helpful if you're looking for something in particular. You can go there and click on which bubble you need, and then just listen to a podcast directly on it. You don't have to do a whole lot of searching and trying to listen to hundreds of episodes if you just want something in particular.
Yeah, yeah. Very useful. I wish there were a search option for a lot of things. And there probably are, but I'm not aware of it because, technology.
Yeah.
Okay. So just out of curiosity, what does your writing process actually look like? Because you have many different things going on between co-writing and doing your own stuff and then covers beforehand, but planning things out, and it sounds very, very interesting.
I've done all kinds of stuff with my writing process. I've gone anywhere from detailed outline to just pantsing the whole thing without an outline. My paranormal romance book was like that. It was a National Novel Writing Month, and I just had a general concept, and I just decided, hey, let me see if I can write a book without an outline. And I just cracked down and started getting it. Every time I got to a point where I got stuck, I just went outside and just looked at something random and went back in and wrote about it. I had to have a whole scene in there about a moth cleaning its feelers or something. Just I just needed to write words. I don't care what they are. So I've done many different ways, from plotting to pantsing, to making my glossaries and maps ahead of time, which one of my fancy stuff. I try to get my map in my head, draw it down.
Yeah, maps are useful.
Yes, I try and get my my characters, my names, a little bit of backstory on the characters. These days I'm getting a little bit better at that kind of stuff. My current day job, I use a lot of Excel for a lot of different stuff, and I've got pretty good at all the formulas in Excel and all that. So I've been starting to make these spreadsheets now where I keep my characters, my glossary and stuff, and then I just have different cells with different traits, like what their eyes look like and hair color and stuff like that. I've been finding that helpful. However, I use Scrivener to write in, and Scrivener is not really the best for spreadsheet capabilities. So usually I have a separate spreadsheet, and every now and then I'll try and copy that spreadsheet and copy it and paste it into Scrivener for quick reference. But I love Scrivener. It's been very helpful. I usually keep my entire series in Scrivener, so it's easy for me to go back and look at something.
Yeah.
Microsoft Word, back in the old days, I was making one chapter per document, and it was just ridiculous going back and trying to find stuff. And so with Scrivener, it's been nice. That's been a big part of my writing process. I keep down in the little spot on the navigation menu, the little research area. I keep book covers, any kind of concept art, including what armor or what my characters kind of look like. I just kind of keep different concept art down there, and then my glossary and my character names and descriptions and just all that kind of stuff. I just try and keep it in there so I can just be able to easily. I want to try and stay on the document as much as possible and not turn around and look at Facebook because I'm actually trying to Google something. I've had a lot of different styles of my practice and what I try to do to make it better. But Scrivener's been a big help for that, trying to keep it all into one area to keep myself from minimizing it.
Yeah, I remember going through the tutorial for Scrivener back when I first got it and realizing, wow, this does so much, and I probably use like this much of it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I use so little of it. There's so much stuff on there, but I've been trying to get better about just a little bit here and there. But another couple of great tools for Scrivener is when you're done with the projects, they have different filters for words. You can actually go and see how many times you use each word. So you can actually see how many times you use the word "the," which is the answer is going to be a lot. And then I use that in reverse and filter for all the ones, all the words I use less than 10 times. And I go back and I look at those words to see if they're typos. And I've been able to find several of them where, the didn't pop up as a typo, but it was a typo, and I only use that word 2 or 3 times or once or something, and I was able to find typos that way.
There's an idea. I should maybe do that because typos. Yeah, those stray words that somehow after multiple rounds of editing make it into the final piece.
Every time.
Every time. Very frustrating. But that's a good idea. I should do that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So as far as your books go, what's coming out the soonest? Or do you have plans? Or are you just kind of working on things as they come, sort of a thing?
Yeah, right now I'm trying to work on my sci-fi series. So I have my pre-order set up for the first November, but I'm planning to pull them left as I get them done. So,
right.
But I was hoping to be a little bit further along now, so it might end up being late summer to early fall when they actually come out. So I'm gonna get those. I got the first book done already. I got the second book about halfway written, and then the third book I haven't briefly outlined, but that one shouldn't be hard to write. I called it Ghost Dragon because they're gonna crash on a planet full of dragons. So I already got the fantasy background, and I should be able to work it out.
That should be fun.
But then after that, I'm going to try and finish out my Dragonia series, books 4 and 5. So that's what I'm hoping to write and complete by the end of the year, if I can. So just got to write 4 more books by the end of the year. We'll see how it goes.
Only 4 books. Yeah. Okay, I wish you all the best luck with that. It has been absolutely fantastic talking with you. You have so many things going on, and I'm interested in like all of them because my TBR list is not long enough, obviously.
Yeah, that's why I listen to audiobooks so much these days. Actually, I've been listening to audiobooks for over 10 years now, at like my day job and stuff, and it's been really nice to be able to get me through more books while I'm doing menial tasks. I started doing working at a shipyard, like doing pipe fitting, put all the pipe up on ships and stuff, and you only need so much brain power for that. So I end up doing listen to audiobooks all day long, every single day. And then now I have an office job, but I do the same thing, and I actually have these headphones here that have my ear canal open because they're bone marrow headphones. They just vibrate for me to hear.
Oh, interesting.
And so if someone comes up behind me and starts talking to me, I can hear everything they're saying. And so I listen to audiobooks and go everywhere, and people can just come up and start talking to me, and I can just hit the little button and pause it.
That's pretty cool.
That's been able to knock down my to-be read list a lot because I have a hard time sitting down and reading with all the stuff I have to do.
Yeah. I'm really slow at audiobooks because for me, I can't listen to things while I do other stuff because most of the stuff that I'm doing requires me to actually think about things. Very frustrating.
It does take some practice. It took me a while to get the hang of being able to multitask listening to audiobooks. It was definitely several books before I was able to get better at dividing my attention. But yeah, it does depend on what task you're doing as well, for sure.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add about your books or not about your books?
No, I think that's about it. I got lots of books out. You can visit my website. I have 5 books in audio. I think I have like 13 or 14 books out now. I have like 2 free short stories on Amazon and some other stores. And I have about 3 or 4 or 5 other things that are free to my newsletter subscribers, including the Way of Thieves book is free to my newsletter subscribers because it's not currently published right now. Same with my Undiscovered Origins book. So those are both 2 free novels for my newsletter. And then I have a couple of Dragonia short stories that I wrote for different anthologies that are free in my newsletter. And the audio versions are free as well for my newsletter. So I got lots of stuff if anyone wants to sign up to read or listen.
Yeah. Ooh, fun. Very fun. Exciting. And as usual, all links will be in the description box when this actually goes out because time travel is fun.
Yes.
Well, have a fantastic rest of your day. I guess it's Friday. So
yes, Friday.
There's this magical thing called the weekend. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful thing. Especially in the summertime. But I digress again. Weekends. And I say have a great day, and it was great talking with you.
Great talking with you too.